Hey all. So I wanted to talk to you about chapter 3 of Neville Goddard's Your Faith is Your Fortune. And then there's kind of a bit of it that I would like to read to you. It's not the whole chapter, but part of it. And then kind of give you my take on it, my understanding, my perception of it. And part of why I wanted to talk about that is because my past few couple of videos have really talked about perception. And this chapter, then, when I accidentally stumbled on it today, I haven't read Your Faith is Your Fortune in a while. And I was like, holy cow, this is really in line with everything that I've been talking to. Shocker. And it would be great to do a video piece on this. I absolutely love the content of Neville Goddard, although when I first started reading it, I really struggled to understand it. And to follow along, and I had to read it a few times. And even to this day, I have found that when I read Neville Goddard again, I pick up something different from it, or I take away something different, or my perception of it changes, which really goes along with the theme of this. So, my consciousness is the Father who draws the manifestation of life to me. The nature of the manifestation is determined by the state of consciousness in which I dwell. I am always drawing into my world that which I am conscious of being. If you are dissatisfied with your present expression of life, then you must be born again. John 3:7. Rebirth is the dropping of that level with which you are dissatisfied and rising to that level of consciousness which you desire to express and possess. Taking your attention from one state and placing it upon the other, you die to the one from which you have taken it, and you live and express the one with which you are united. Man cannot see how it would be possible to express that which he desires to be by so simple a law as acquiring the consciousness of the thing desired. The reason for this lack of faith on the part of man is that he looks at the desired state through the consciousness of his present limitations. Therefore, he naturally sees it as impossible of accomplishment. One of the first things man must realize is that it is impossible, in dealing with the spiritual law of consciousness, to put new wine into old bottles or new patches on old garments. So, when I read this today, and I've read it before, this really stood out to me. And the reason is because a couple videos ago, I talked about how there was a study that was done on people, and they brought these people in and they asked them not to eat the cookies. And one of the groups, they nicely explained to them, hey, we need you to not eat these cookies because we're doing this study and we really want to see, how people do with it. Thank you so much for not eating these cookies. And the second group of people, they said, hey, don't eat the cookies, and left. And then later on, they gave each participant a newspaper, and they told the participants, okay, we want you to count how many pictures are in this newspaper and tell us at the end how many pictures are in this newspaper. And the people who were in the first group that had been talked nicely to found it so quick, like so much quicker than the other group. And the reason being was because it was like on the first or second page of this newspaper, there was a sentence that said, you can stop counting. There's 42 pictures in this paper. Those people that had had the nice kind of way of being treated and being talked to found that sentence much more often than the other folks did. And what this really shows is that there's a lot of times where you can't even perceive the things that are directly in front of you. So here you have this amazing opportunity, or this great love, or these great feelings, or this lucky stuff around you, or these ways for money to come to you, and you're not even able to see it. And the reason that you can't see it is because your perception is not open to it. And it's exactly what Neville is talking about in those little parts that I read of chapter 3 of Your Faith is Your Fortune. And what he's saying is that when you are in a specific state, you are in this concept of yourself, your self-concept, whatever you want to call it, your identity, those things, it's like you have blinders onto them. So when it talks about creation being finished, it's because it's all there. You just have to you have to be able to perceive it, right? So when you're not able to perceive it, it's like you have blinders on, you can't see it. And it may still be available to you. And what gets frustrating, or at least what did with me, is I didn't quite understand this, like creation is finished and everything's there and it all comes down to just selecting it, because I was like, well, where does it come from? Do you like switch timelines? Do you switch like dimensions? Like, how does this actually work? And part of me understands that there's some things I'm not going to understand. But part of me also realizes now that it really comes down to the perception of what I'm able to perceive. So when I am in a woe is me kind of area and I'm frustrated, and every day I'm telling myself that I'm the unluckiest person alive, nothing good ever happens to me, nobody ever loves me, nobody likes me, I don't see these opportunities then that are available to me. And one of the really easy ways to start shifting that, and remember, I've talked about I struggled because I was trying to do this like overarching massive change, and I didn't understand at times why like some things would work but some of the bigger like stuff wouldn't work. And it was because I still had this like nagging true belief in the back of my head subconsciously that if I say so and so loves me, no they don't. If I say I've got $1 million in the bank, no you don't. Money comes to me easy, nope, sure doesn't. We've never seen that before. And as a matter of fact, you pay attention to when it doesn't come. And so what I started to do, and what was really helpful and changed a lot for me, was I started to notice the small wins. That's why I say add joy to your life, because I can start to notice these small things and pick up on them. If I get a great parking spot, of course I did. That's just my luck. I always get a great parking spot. If I get an extra $1,000, of course I did. I always get an extra $1,000. Money comes to me like it's nothing. It's just flying in my face. And I'll tell you, my money situation drastically different than it was a few years ago. I can, afford the things that I want. We built a new house. Things are going remarkably well. There's business opportunities, and it's like, oh, of course I have all these great ideas. I'm super creative. That's wonderful. And you start to pick up and notice. And when you notice this stuff and you pay attention to it, you're giving thanks for it. And you don't have to like conjure up this crazy feeling of gratitude. Paying attention is gratitude. Being present is gratitude. You can also give thanks. I love to give thanks. And I love to do these other kind of like ritualistic things of like affirmations and journaling. I still do that kind of stuff. I still like it. I still appreciate it. It makes me feel good. It raises my vibration. I enjoy that stuff. But the more that you can start to notice these small things and call it out loud. Of course, the light turned green before I got to it. That's just my luck. Things always work out for me just because they do. Get a big raise at work? Of course I do. I'm always getting a raise. And you can just start to, and then that way you're not faking it. You're not faking something that's not happening. You're not like seeking for something or trying to convince yourself, which trust me, that kind of stuff works too. I've actually done that as well, and it works, and I'll talk about it. But this is an easier, more practical way of doing this, and start recognizing the love in your life, or the money in your life, or the financial abundance, or how people are just drawn to you, or folks give you compliments all the time, or you're always getting free gifts. Start to notice that stuff, like really pay attention to it, and you'll start to find that it's like more and more it starts to happen. This is what I found. And I actually just watched a video, it was actually on TikTok, where a girl had kind of transferred the way that she was doing her workouts, and she started to get much better at them. And she'd kind of started at first with her workouts of like being like, oh, I have to work out. Oh, this hurts. And oh, I can't keep up. And instead she started to pay attention to the muscle and be like, I can feel it grow. I'm so strong. My arms look amazing. My stomach is flat. Like my butt looks so lifted. I absolutely love my body. And she would like feel the muscle that she was working at that time and really appreciate that she was feeling it. She said her whole workouts like completely changed, and the transformation she saw was remarkable. And this makes sense because what you pay attention to is what you're giving thanks to. What you pay attention to is what you're saying you want more of, whether you are wanting to admit that or not. What you're paying attention to is reflective of your state, and your state is going to only allow you to perceive things that are within the vibration of that state. And so I want to give practical tips and practical steps on how to change those states for you. That's what I did for myself, and I did it slowly. And when I stopped and said, you know what, I'm going to take my time and I'm going to work on this and I'm going to do it slowly, all of a sudden, holy crap, stuff started happening so much faster than it had before because my effort was gone in it. I was recognizing this beautiful stuff. I was doing the things that bring me joy. And it was really phenomenal. And it was like a great way to live. So what I'm kind of saying here is if you listen to these words that Neville is talking about, he is saying that if you are in a certain state, some things may seem impossible to you because your state is not there. It's not able to perceive this as a possibility for you, but all things are possible. And so you can slowly shift your state to start to recognize more of the joys that you're bringing into your life. And don't forget the things that you give attention to, even if they're things that you don't want, but you're giving attention to them, you're saying you want more of that. So hopefully you liked this video. I plan on doing more Neville content type videos. I have read a ton of Neville Goddard. I think I've got a pretty good grasp on him, but definitely let me know if that reads differently to you than what my perception of it is, because I would also love to hear your thoughts. Thanks.